It's time for the Grinnell Focused Out and About with Jamie Grout as we focus on people and events, organizations around the Poweshiek perimeter. It's sponsored by Grinnell State Bank, one of the fine supporters of the Grinnell School of Music, which is our topic of conversation on today's podcast. I'll be talking with Aaron Buston, the director of that organization, in just a few moments. I know Austin Jones and the gang at Grinnell State Bank, big supporters of the Grinnell School of Music, and they're just about a week away from an upgraded online and mobile banking experience for you. And it's built the way you want to bank. Their digital banking solutions offer everything you need to achieve your financial goals and meet your everyday banking needs wherever you go at Grinnell State Bank. Another supporter of the Grinnell School of Music is Total Choice Shipping and Printing. Corey and Alicia know all about small businesses, and they know that much of the success of small business comes from the other support of small businesses. Total Choice is the official print provider and sponsor for the new Grinnell School of Music. It opened up last Friday with their grand opening, Rock the Block, and you can read their latest blog that talks all about the Grinnell School of Music at their website, totalchoicegrinnell.com. That's totalchoicegrinnell.com. My interview guest today for the Grinnell Focused Out and About with Jamie Grout is Executive Director of the School of Music in Grinnell, Aaron Buston. And Aaron, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Jamie.
Well, I'm excited about this because I talked to you on the phone when we set up the interview. You were all excited. You could tell you're motivated. And you have a passion for this whole thing. And I want you to tell us a little bit about the School of Music. It's a nonprofit organization, correct?
Yes, we are a nonprofit. We were incorporated as such in 2022, but have been active since 2019 under the name Studio E Grinnell. So we started as a private voice studio and then adding different teachers, all with the goal of sort of seeing the feasibility, testing the feasibility of building towards a community music school. And way back to the beginning, I started a Studio E, which was, again, my own private teaching studio, because I was getting asked for lessons a lot. I'm a singer and I was getting asked for a lot of voice lessons. Happy to take on students. But as I started taking on more students, first of all, I filled my available times right away. And then people were asking me, hey, do you know someone who teaches clarinet lessons? And do you know someone who teaches piano lessons? And do you know someone, who teaches whatever other lessons? And unfortunately, I was having to say no too often, or I was having trouble tracking down that information for folks. Of course, there are people around who teach, but don't always have the infrastructure to have a building or a web presence. And so unless you don't know where to find them. And so our goal was to try to make music lessons more accessible and more available to Grinnell and the surrounding areas.
So you started out as a feasibility kind of study. It sounds like maybe kind of a research type project where you want to find out the need and that kind of stuff. What did you find out through that?
Well, I mean, we were active right from the get-go. It's just we didn't establish as a nonprofit right away because, I've worked most of my career in nonprofit management before moving to Grinnell, and understanding that in order to be successful as such, we wanted to make sure that we were viable. And so we were active right away. So it wasn't, we were doing it. We were just not doing it as a nonprofit until we were sure that we had the viability, the community support, and all of those things. So what we learned really was that indeed there is a need for music lessons and classes in Grinnell and surrounding area. We learned that a lot of folks either don't pursue lessons, even if they're interested. Child comes home from school and says, hey, mom, I want to take violin lessons. And if the parents can't find that, often that's it. You lose that child's passion and interest. Hopefully they'll be able to follow it up down the road. But, as a parent too, capturing your children when they're passionate and excited about an activity is so important. So we learned that many folks were having to say no, and others were driving their children all over the state, Iowa City and Des Moines, especially for music lessons. And while that works wonderfully for some families, it certainly isn't possible for many others. You have the cost of lessons. And then when you're adding on the cost of time off and just gas and a day in Des Moines or Iowa City, you're making it less accessible for many people, and then you're also just taking those dollars outside of our small towns.
Mm-hmm. So what's the nonprofit piece of the School of Music? Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, the nonprofit piece is that we keep our rates fair, while also paying our teachers a fair wage. So we do have a suggested market tuition in all of our programs, and that is based on sort of our cost of operations. But it is, between 4 and several hundred% lower than all of the other places that we have evaluated in the state. There aren't very many other models for us to look at, but there are a few in the bigger cities. So we also then are providing providing financial aid for students. So our goal is that no one would have to go without what we offer because of their financial situation. So our goal is to supplement what people are able to pay with scholarship funds, both internal and from other sources here in town, and then to make sure that we can meet our operating costs and also our subsidizing where people can't pay tuition. And the other piece of the nonprofit was simply in order to expand, in order to grow the business that we wanted, the organization that we wanted, in order to get a new space, in order to have the space to accommodate the demand that we were seeing, we needed to run a campaign. So we did.
I'm assuming that you've had some pretty good community support for this. Tell us about that, Erin.
It's been absolutely astounding. The community has really rallied around us, around this mission in such a way that just to me is evidence that this is needed, this is wanted, this is something that the city of Grinnell, as well as so many surrounding communities, can benefit from. I'm hesitant to name all of our sponsors and donors because I don't want to miss any.
You're afraid you'll leave one out. I get that.
I will name the top few, but we were very happy to receive a Iowa Economic Development Authority grant, a Catalyst grant. That's from the state Iowa Economic Development Authority, as well as the city of Grinnell, co-applicants or co-supporters of that grant. But you have to have the city support in order to have the state support. And then we also received $100,000 sponsorship from Grinnell State Bank to name the main classroom. So we are delighted to have the Marion Austin Jones classroom, named after one of the founding family members of the Grinnell State Bank. And Marion was a well-known person here in Grinnell, directed musicals, directed her church choir, loved community theater and music. So we're happy to honor her legacy. And then Grinnell College sponsored our outdoor mural. I'm going to stop there because if I keep going down, we have so many wonderful supporters. And again, if those are our top ones that I know right off my head, I don't want to miss anyone.
Sure, I understand. What's the age range for the students?
0 to as old as you want to be and come.
Really? So
yeah.
Somebody even an old fogey like me, I could sign up for music lessons.
Absolutely. Here. I mean, it's never too late to pursue something you love. We have private lessons, of course, for adults. So, you can come and take guitar lessons or piano lessons. We also have group classes and drop-in programs and events that are geared towards adults, as well as those for children. Our youngest student ever has been 10 days old, coming to our Music Together program, which is a caregiver and child program, music and movement program for children ages 0 to 5 with a caregiver. That's an internationally renowned curriculum through Music Together worldwide that we license and offer here. So 10 days old was our youngest, and I won't disclose the age of our oldest students because I don't want them to be upset with me.
Sure. What all do you teach?
Oh, I hope I don't forget anything. Currently, we have private instruction in piano, voice, organ, guitar, violin or fiddle, flute, woodwinds, percussion, ukulele. I'm probably missing something. And one of our goals is also to match folks with what they're interested in. So if someone comes to me and says, I'd really like to find my child or myself trombone lessons, then our goal is to use our network and help identify a teacher in the area who might be willing to come to Grinnell to teach. If there's not somebody living here already, but who might be willing to come here and teach so that we can meet that need right here in town.
And that leads me to my next question. How many teachers do you have, and how did you find them in the first place, Erin?
Well, I mean, I've always worked in music. As I mentioned, I'm a singer, and worked in professionally in music administrative roles before moving here. And my husband is a professor, Mark Laver, at Grinnell College. So through our network, certainly that helped. But just putting the word out, just saying, we're trying to do this. We're trying to make sure that this is something, that music is something folks can access here. And I found most teachers were really excited about it. Certainly we still have teachers that work independently as, out of their living room, they teach private lessons. And we want to support them as well. But we also had a lot of folks came up to us and said, I would love to teach. I have a master's in guitar and I travel all over the state performing. I'm just, there's lots of amazing experienced musicians that we're working with, but they didn't have facilities, or they didn't necessarily want to deal with the administrative part, the taxes, the bookkeeping. And so what we offer for our teachers is that we help them with those aspects of the work. So we all of our teachers are hired on a contract basis to provide lessons and classes, and we offer obviously our facility, wonderful equipment. We offer help recruiting students, marketing. So those things that teachers would otherwise be doing on their own in order to teach as freelancers, we're taking on some of that.
So do you want to create a band, an orchestra, anything like that? Or is this just for individuals only?
Our goal certainly isn't to create an ensemble. It's to provide music education where it is wanted and needed. So, we are lucky to have amazing public school music programs here in Grinnell, and I know in the surrounding schools as well. And students get to have those experiences. We don't have orchestra programs here in Grinnell, but and certainly we want to offer string education for those who want it. But no, it's not to create an ensemble. It's more to equip students to go out and find joy in music. So whether that's joining a choir or joining an orchestra or playing in a rock band at any age, whatever that is for them, it's to help them become more confident, more technically, of course, have to technical excellence on their chosen instrument, all of those things. But it's to go and to help people go out and love music and participate in music in whatever way is the best for them in their life.
So let's get back to you, Erin, and talk about your background a little bit. And we've touched on that a little bit, but where do you think you developed your passion for music?
My parents came back from a trip overseas. They went to London when I was 6, and they came back with, this is early, CD players had just come out. They came back with CDs and of all the musicals they went to. So right away, I loved musical theater. I listened to those nonstop. I sang along to everything. I absolutely, just loved musical theater. I started singing in choir around the same time, and choral singing is certainly where my passion for music developed. I was active. I'm from Nova Scotia, Canada, so I was very active in the Nova Scotia Choral Federation, provincial youth choirs, which are comparable to the state choirs here, of course, all state choirs, and then the National Youth Choir of Canada, in which I sang for a number of years. Wow. I sang professionally in Toronto in various choral groups there, but choral singing is where my truest passion for music lies. And then as I did my education in music, I really just felt more and more passionate about the role that music can play in individual lives, in helping us all live a happier, more joyful existence, but also in building communities. It brings people together in a way that I think is needed more than ever these days. And all of my professional roles, wherever they have taken me, have been about music and community and building community through music.
If I'd have known you were from Canada, I'd have brought you some back bacon, some toques, and Moosehead beer.
Back bacon isn't actually a Canadian thing. People think it is.
Oh, it is?
It's not really.
Okay, all right. I just remember Doug and Bob McKenzie used to talk about that, and the Great White North, if you remember that one. So anyway, I guess I want to talk about musical theater too, because I
Mhm.
also share a passion of that.
Mhm.
I've been in Oklahoma and I was raised in community theater. My dad helped to get the Newton Community Theater going, and he was a
Oh,
drama
wonderful.
teacher along with a speech and debate teacher in Newton back in the day. And I'm just curious, what are some of your favorite musicals?
Oh, I'm a sucker for Les Mis, classic, but that's one of the ones that my parents came home on that long ago trip. They came home with that album. More recently, I just was very lucky to spend some time in London. I love Wicked. I
Hmm.
got to see Moulin Rouge, which was just here at the Civic Center in Des Moines. Oh gosh, I pretty much love all musicals.
Mhm. Well, good.
But yeah, I have a bunch of favorites, and we're really excited. You mentioned community theater. Those who are familiar with the art scene in Grinnell know that we have an amazing organization, the Grinnell Area Arts Council, and that houses the Grinnell Community Theater.
Mhm.
So I think this is public. It's going to be now. I hope I don't get in trouble. Tom Lucina and I will be joining forces. So the Grinnell Community Theater and the Grinnell School of Music joining forces to co-present a musical next year.
Can you say which one it will be? Or do you?
I don't want to do it in case Tom hasn't publicized it yet.
Okay. Oh, no,
I don't want to get in trouble.
Do you have any idea when that will be released?
Our show dates. Oh gosh, I've been so focused on the opening that this is sort of, I'm getting back to the musical next month once we're through the opening of the building here. But I believe it will be. I believe our show dates are at the end of June, like before the 4th of July weekend.
Okay.
So.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It will be fun.
It will be.
Yeah.
I'll share with you because this podcasts are supposed to be a conversation.
Of course.
So my favorite musicals, The Music Man, because it's from Iowa.
Yes, yeah.
Meredith Willson, and River City, of course, is Mason City. But also, I love The Sound of Music. That's one of my favorite.
I should have said that one.
Yeah,
mine too.
My significant other does not like it. She says it's too sugary sweet. But
we're actually going to do a Sound of Music sing along here in December.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, sing along party. So.
There was someone told my mom who was a preschool teacher of mine. And I went there and she said, Jamie always wants to sing Doa Dia, a female dia. And I love that music. I also was in the play Oklahoma, and I just love that also. So that's great. I'm glad you have such a passion for this and you're doing this. Now, is the School of Music just starting now? Has it been underway? I mean, you had a forerunner to this. So we're recording this on a Thursday. You're having a kind of an event tomorrow. Yeah. When I say tomorrow, I mean Friday. This is being actually played back 6th, on the next Wednesday, so it's past already. If you're listening to it, it's kind of confusing. But I'm wondering, are classes starting? Have they started? Or
they have, yeah. And we've been active since. So when we took over the activities of Studio E, as when the nonprofit was incorporated, we've been active ever since. But we weren't able to meet the demand in the building that we had been renting prior. We had been renting a smallish storefront, beautiful space across from Central Park here in Grinnell, but it wasn't built for music. Acoustics are so important. The neighbors upstairs, I will forever shout out our neighbors upstairs there who put up with us being their downstairs neighbors for 3 years. And they were wonderful. And we had to make sure, of course, not to have activities into the evening. You could hear between our rooms, so you couldn't have simultaneous lessons. So we were really limited in the times we were able to offer programming, the number of programs we were able to offer. It made for very difficult scheduling because we were trying to figure out how to, piece together numerous teachers in one highly functional and one sort of functional room.
Sure.
So that going back to your very first question in terms of feasibility, we had a building that we grew out of, and honestly, I rented it as Studio E in 2021, and we grew out of it. We were full within a few weeks, full just in terms of how much we could physically accommodate. Between myself and Julie Bai, who is our founding piano teacher.
Okay.
Yeah. So
if people are looking for you, you're in a former restaurant building.
We are, yeah. So many people know this is the former Michael's building. And that restaurant closed in 2019. We purchased the building 2022, I believe we signed papers for purchase agreement. So we, and I shout out to Teresa Palliai, former owner of this building, who helped me envision what it could be. Certainly when I came to look at it, and it was at that point, it had been mostly demoed inside. And
was there a lot of restoration involved in this building?
Yeah. Absolutely. So the restaurant had closed. It had already been gutted essentially, except for the room that we're sitting in right now, which was a barber shop. So we purchased the whole building, so including this room, and we gutted the whole thing. So basically, this building is a concrete block. It doesn't have a basement. Even the roof is poured. The roof is poured concrete. And so we completely gutted it. We've added all new electrical, all new HVAC.
Wow.
Plumbing's been redone. Floors have been leveled out.
Crazy.
So and then of course the soundproofing piece, every element of this renovation has been done considering acoustics, considering how to make a building that sounds good, but also how to make when you're playing in it, but how to make a building where you can play. We can teach a piano lesson in one room and a flute lesson in the other and a drum lesson in the other. And I won't say that they're soundproof, because achieving real actual soundproof is both very, very difficult and highly expensive, but they are sound treated. And, we've had, for the past 2 days, as we speak, we've had 11 lessons our first day. We had 9 lessons yesterday, and I think we have about 10 today.
Wow.
So we're having lessons, and, there was a few times that all three of our teaching studios were in use, and the teachers all reported that it was great, that they were functional, that,
Wow.
The noise from the other rooms wasn't distracting. Our main classroom has yet to host a lesson or class, and most of our group classes don't start until either the week of September 10th or the week of September 17th. So we're kind of rolling those out a little bit later.
So how can people listening sign up for these classes?
GrinnellSchoolofMusic.org, and then click on programs. That should outline everything we have. There's a PDF there that you can download our brochure. You can pick up a copy of the brochure here at Grinnell School of Music or at a number of businesses around town. We've just kind of been leaving them there, hoping that people find them. You can call me. 641-888-0342 is our number. So any of these ways you can check out what we have, or, if you just want to call and say, hey, here's my interests, then I can help point you in the direction of what programs might be the best fit for you.
Well, as I walked into the building today, I see that, you have a contractor still working on things. You're just getting the finishing touches going and whatnot. But kudos to you and the people who helped you out to get this going, because it sounds like it's been a labor of love.
It has, yes. And I will say, David Vanderlinden has been our general contractor. He, as we do this, is out there going way above and beyond what a general contractor usually does by actually scraping paint chips off windows and leaf blowing the sidewalks to make sure that everything looks really nice for our party. David, all of the crews that David's worked with, our board, our events committee for the big event tomorrow night, tomorrow has passed already if you're listening, but it really has been a labor of love. It's been a team effort. It's been absolutely astounding to see the community come out, like we talked earlier, in terms of financial support, but also we've worked with local businesses at every step of this. We've engaged local vendors whenever we could, and it really has been a huge community effort to bring it to life. So it's really exciting to see it come together.
So much to be proud of.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank
so.
you.
Before we wrap up, again, your website and your phone number.
GrinnellSchoolofMusic.org is our website, and our phone number 641-888-0342. And we're also active on Facebook and Instagram. So if you're on those, you can find us there.
The director of the Grinnell School of Music. Our conversation today with Erin Buston. Thank you very much for talking with us today.
Thanks so much.
Until next time, Grout is out. See ya.